Hello everybody, I'm the 40k Renegade, and today we're going to be talking about Chaos Terminators, with a few points about normal Terminators. Now Terminators get a 2+ save and a 5+ invulnerable save, and that is basically what you're paying the points for. By default they get storm bolters and combi bolters and some kind of power weapon if it's a chaos thing, or a power fist if it's not. The power fists mean the normal marine Terminators attack last. Always attack last. Everybody else gets a free peg at them before they can hit back. Now Terminators are vulnerable to horde armies. You attack them with a squad of boys, for instance, with 40 attacks. The person you're attacking is going to get a couple of ones and is going to lose some men, and you're probably going to win combat. I've seen Terminators running away from Orc boys time and time again. It's a hilarious sight to see, but believe me, they're no good against horde armies. So you don't use Terminators against horde armies, you keep them well away from them. Now, Terminators by default with no upgrades are bullet magnets. You put them in front, you let people shoot at them so they're not shooting at anything you want to keep. Trouble is, they're very expensive bullet magnets. They're one of these situations where you can pay an awful lot of money for troops, but they never earn their points back directly. All they do is absorb fire. And that's the problem with the marine Terminators, you know, the loyalists. Now the chaos ones don't have that problem. All you've got to do is look at the upgrade options. Now if we turn to the Chaos Space Marine manual, right, for the one that's available in 7th edition anyway, page 97, you've got Chaos Terminators. Now they've got 2 attacks. They're not going to be very good in close combat. The maximum attacks they're ever going to get is 3 if they charge in, and they're never going to get a dual weapon one unless you give them double lightning claws. But that said, the rule here is you can replace the power weapon with one of the following: a lightning claw, so you can't even take a set of them. Right, now if we go down the list here and replace other weapons, suddenly you see combi flame coming in, right? Melter, plasma. Now if you give you give like your free Terminators, your free case Terminators, flamers, you'd get D3 automatic, well 3 D3 automatic hits anything that charged you. So that's a good defense against attack, you know, close assault, considering they'd normally attack first. But right, these guys have got listed combi bolter and power weapon. Not power fist, power weapon. So you can take a power fist, a chain fist, a lightning fist as listed on the page, or you could give them a power maul or a power sword, right, which allows you to attack at your own initiative. So you would be attacking the same time as them, so they don't get a free strike against you. And that's the advantage of Chaos Terminators. They can take them, it's an option. Trouble is you only get 3 of them, and I recommend you take 5. Because you need the 5. You equip the sergeant for close assault, so he really does the business, right? He only gets 2 attacks, but it's still, you know, better than nothing. Normal Terminators, you know, I think they only get 1 attack, and the sergeant gets 2. I think you'd have to post below if you know. But Chaos Terminators get 2 and 2. It's 2 attacks for the Terminator and 2 attacks for the Chaos Champion. Plus the Chaos Champion might be, he'd have to, you know, issue a challenge. So you need him equipped for close combat, really. So you give him a combi bolter and a power weapon, he can attack with a power sword or power maul or something like that. And you give one of your other 4 a chain fist for carving up vehicles, because you need that ability if you come across a tank in close assault and stuff. Sometimes it's the quickest way of getting rid of a tank. Now the rest of them, just give them power swords, power mauls, whatever, lightning claws, or lightning claw should I say, for close assault. But remember, Terminators shouldn't be put in close assault if you can help it, because to be honest they're not very good at it. The only thing they are is a bullet magnet. They absorb fire, so that whoever's shooting at them isn't shooting at something else. That's their primary role, at least for this when you're doing them with the loyalist Terminators. When you're dealing with the Chaos Terminators, they come with a few better options than that, right? One of them being combi melter, or combi plasma, or combi flamer. Combi melter is my favourite. I gave three melters, combi melters, to my Terminators, and as a result, I was assassinating, loyalist Terminators left, right, and centre in one game. Literally, they were just melting the faces off of them. I was doing it at range. I didn't even have to get in combat. They were stuck. They were on a roll. They just went around the board, wiping everything out. So they more than had their points back. Now, when you take 5 Terminators with my kind of configuration, it comes to about 230 points. And the configuration I used was 5 Terminators, 3 combi melters at 15 points plus, a Reaper autocannon at plus 25. It's important for the ranged capability. 1 combi bolter, 2 lightning claws, 1 power fist, 1 power maul, and 1 power axe. This gives me a nice variety of attacks. I can take on almost anything with them. But the key points is the 3 melters and the Reaper autocannon. That's where the business takes place. That's the important bit. Now, Terminators are good because they can deep strike in. But if you deep strike in with a Stormbolt, you're basically dying. You're sacrificing Terminators for nothing. You deep strike in Terminators with any of them upgrades, flamers, melters, whatever, it's vastly different kettle of fish. I mean, plasma, sure, fair enough, it's a gets hot weapon, but that's an AP2 attack. Other Terminators wouldn't get a save, and it has rapid fire, if I'm not mistaken, at short range. That's 12 inches, so you get to shoot twice. Melter guns, on the other hand, they're strength 8 AP1. Right, that's going to be an instant death for most units, because the toughness of most units is less than 4. Or 4 or less, and that's double strength. That's instant kill. If they fail a save, that's it, they're dead. So you've got that, plus an AP1 weapon is a +2 on the damage roll against vehicles, and if I'm not mistaken, it gets like an armor burn type roll at short range. So if you get within 6 inches of a vehicle, you're going to get extra damage or an extra chance of destroying the damn thing. So at the end of the day, Terminators need to be teleported in so they can cause a massive amount of damage really quickly. They've got a very short lifespan, but you've got to make, basically, it's like throwing a wrench into your opponent's strategy, right? You see Terminator turning up behind his lines from deep strike. He knows he's in trouble, right? And he's got to deal with them. He's got to turn his guns inwards, and as a consequence, he's got to take them out. And because your Terminator is deep striking, you get to shoot on the turn they arrive, so you get a first strike, and you can make that count. With Terminators, you can do a lot of damage. As I said earlier, I had mine teleporting, and they first wiped out a squad of loyalist Terminators with the melters. Then they walked around the corner, shot up a bunch of tactical marines before charging in close, assaulting them and defeating them in the first round of combat because they had first strike weapons, not unwieldy power fist. Turned around, attacked a dreadnought from the rear, destroyed that. You work out the costs of all of them. My Terminator squad cost 230 points. I can guarantee you they earned their points back that day. Right now, it's not the first time that's happened. I've also used these to stem, literally block an entire attack from one side of the board. I teleported them in, and then I used the psychic power, to move the unit back into formation where I needed it to be. So they deviated, then I moved them back onto the target using the Psyker. So the Psyker itself was part of the unit at the time. But when all these troops came rushing forward, they hit the Terminator wall, which basically stopped them dead. They were there for the rest of the game trying to get rid of the Terminators, who were still there holding the objective at the end of the game. So they did well, because the shooting, they were locked in combat for a few turns, and they didn't do so well then. They were losing more men in combat than they should have done. But that's why Terminators fall flat. They're not very strong in combat. They look like they should be, but they're not. They're very weak, and they're very weak against horde armies, orcs, tyrannids, anything with lots of cheap troops could easily defeat a Terminator squad. But when you get them in shooting with them kind of weapons, they're absolutely awesome. Anyway, Terminators you have to be careful with. You could easily spend too many points on Terminators without getting any benefits back. But when you give them melter guns and stuff like that, and you use them aggressively, not passively, you've got to be aggressive with Terminators, and you keep them at range, they do really, really well. Now, just before we go, we're going to look at the formations. Now, there's in the Traitors Hate book and the Traitors Legion book, there's the same formation. Let me just find it. I think it's 58. No, it's not 58. Right. No, it's 54. Terminator of Annihilation Force. Now, you need 3 squads of Terminators for that and a Chaos Lord, probably Terminator armour. And basically, on the turn you arrive, well, you nominate a target that can that'll be the subject of their hate, and you get hatred against that target. You can then deep strike in and fire the moment you arrive, and then fire again in the shooting phase. Very, very handy for what I've just been talking about. Updated target. When you've destroyed your target, you get to do it again. You get to pick another target. So you can basically shoot, do the same thing again to the next target. Trouble is, you can only deep strike in once, so the benefits of shooting twice only apply once. Now, if I just go to Traitors Hate and just double check that, make sure it's the same rule, because it might not be. There's subtle differences between the two books, so it's always worth checking. But when you're dealing with, here we go, Terminator Annihilation Force, yeah, it's the same rule basically. And now when you look at the 3 units, if you take 3 Terminators as a squad, that's 9 Terminators for the 3 to 5 thing, minimum requirement, plus a Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord's about 65 plus 25 points for, I think it's plus 25 points for Terminator armour, something like that anyway. So let's just say 90 points. And then you've got, say, 95 points per squad. Let's round that up to 100 just for the sake of it. So you're looking at 390 points for a basic 3-man squad, 3 3-man squads with combi bolters and a combi bolter armed, Chaos Lord. That's not worth it. That is simply not worth it. And the special rules for that particular Terminator squad means you've got to dedicate a hell of a lot of points to that particular strategy, right? And once you've upgraded it and made all the changes, you can add an extra 100 points roughly, per squad, and suddenly that becomes hugely expensive. That's half your force. The other opponent will be able to just swamp you with even the most expensive units on his side. He'll be able to literally use Space Marine tactical squads as a horde army against that tactic. It wouldn't work. You might be able to use them as a distraction maybe, but I wouldn't recommend it. So that particular idea there, it's far too expensive to field in a normal game unless you take nothing but cultists for the rest of your army. Remember as well, when you're taking anything expensive, you do need to take a lot of cheaper units, so you don't have a unit deficit on the board. If you end up with less units than your opponent, he's going to outgun you and you're going to lose. So having a few cannon fodder units around usually helps, and thanks to Traitor Legion's book, we've not only got cultists now, but you could also field an allied detachment of Thousand Sons. And if you field an allied detachment of Thousand Sons, there's nothing at all to stop you taking, if I could even find them or pronounce their names, Zangor. No, not Zangor. Yeah, it's a formation. Right. Where is it? Let me just find the actual unit. It might be further in. Basically, they're like beastmen. Right? The Thousand Sons get them, and I don't suppose there's nothing benefit to stop anybody else taking them, I suppose. But the design for Thousand Sons basically. But Zagnors, or whatever they are, beastmen, the cross combat troops, you get 10 for 70 points. They're cheap, basically. Cultists are cheaper, but sometimes you want to mix it up a bit, don't you? You want to keep it interesting, and that's a good way of doing it. Taking these cheaper units alongside your Terminators helps offset the problem of spending so many points on one unit. which has always been the issue when you're dealing with big expensive stuff on a game. Right, anyhow, that's it for the Terminators. Post your ideas below, corrections below, any additions, any ideas you've got. If you've got a plan of your own that works, tell us about it. You know, might make another blog about that and just talk about your idea. Just remember, right, it says it's a hobby, don't take it too seriously, it's supposed to be about fun. I'm not a super competitive player. I like to be a bit fluffy in my game sometimes, so I get the enjoyment of it that way. And for me, a snotling taking out the Terminator is the funniest thing on the world, and I've done it. So I like the little guy to win. Right, so I'll see you next time. Have fun.